What's going on, guys? This is BunnyMuffins. We have the patch notes for Teamfight Tactics Patch 11.23. I played so much of last patch, I think I played over 150 games of it, and here are the changes I'd like to see before we get into the highlights. Samira should be nerfed slightly. There are two mutant traits that are a little too strong. It's the Elderwood and Darkstar variations. I forget their actual names. Mercenary starts a little too good. Late Academy, like 6 and 8 Academy, a little too strong. Innovator starts should be nerfed. Build Different should be nerfed, and a bunch of the eco augments as well. I also feel like they should fix the RNG of like getting trait augments at the beginning of the game and avoid situations where you have only 3 different traits that aren't necessarily flexible ones. Ezreal and Singe level 1 versus level 2 is a little too big of a difference. Ezreal 1 and Singe 1 are essentially useless, but Ezreal 2 and Singe 2 are like one of the strongest things in the game. And then I wish Assassin Reroll gets buffed a little bit. So let's see if they end up doing that. Also, like, maybe slight early game Camille nerfs. But here are the patch highlights below. Bodyguards are getting buffed. Colossus, Imperial, Galio, Lifelong Learning, Ardent, Censor, Share the Spotlight, Portable Forge are all getting buffs. Academy, Innovator, Mercenary, Gangplank, Misfortune, and Samira are all getting nerfed. Oh yeah, Gangplank should be nerfed as well because, like, he's too good for a unit that gives you gold, in my opinion. And then they adjusted Enforcer and Sniper, and then Underdog, Woodland Charm, Titanic Force, and Runic Shield also getting nerfs here. Do note that these are not all the changes because they added stuff afterwards, and there are like both like the small changes and big changes section. So let's move on to the new game mode first. This is called Double Up. Double Up is essentially like a 2v2v2v2 mode, and from what I hear, it is really fun. And probably a lot of people are going to be playing it, unlike Hyperroll, which only like a small portion of the population played. But I feel like a lot of people are going to be doing Double Up. You have ways to help your team through like an extra armory. Your board can help your teammates' board when a fight ends. Lots of different things that are like really special about this game. And if you guys haven't found like a duo partner yet, go ahead and head on over to my Discord, discord.gg/BunnyMuffins. And I'm sure other people are also looking for people to duo with over there. So first, let's get into the system changes. The augments, they are adding different combinations that you can have in the game. I believe the summary of this is that you get 1% more prismatic augments in like the games you play. So that should be interesting. And it's also in like different combinations, which we haven't seen before, obviously. They also have a UI change. During carousel rounds, you can now inspect champions while scouting other boards. This is actually pretty big. I tried right-clicking some of my units on the carousel, or like when I go to my board from the carousel, and I just couldn't do it, and now we can do that. And then now onto the large changes. So with the augments, let's see what they adjusted. They changed Ardent Censor, which is the enchanter one. I believe it gives you like attack speed on units that you shield, and it is now a silver one instead of gold. Lifelong Learning, which gives AP to every surviving scholar unit, permanently is now being changed from gold to silver, and this is no longer offered on third augment choice. That's really good because third augment choice, like, it's too late to stack up this augment, so I'm glad that they're removing it from that thing. Runic Shield, Arcanist Shield duration. Okay, this makes so much sense. I don't know why they made this infinite before, but 8 seconds sounds fair. That's how long the Exile Shield lasts for, and this way your Lux in the back row with Rabadon's Death Cap doesn't have like 1000 shield or whatever it is. Runic Shield, Arcanist, and shield scaling is now being buffed a little bit to compensate for this change, so that's good. They didn't like just purely nerf it. And then Share the Spotlight shared bonus is now being changed from 75% to 100%. Ooh, I really thought that this one was pretty good, because getting 15% damage buff to like a bunch of units seemed like a decent augment, but I guess not good enough. Titanic Force health threshold is being changed from 1300 to 1400, and then the max percent health damage as AD is being nerfed a little bit, 4% to 3%, so overall pretty big nerfs here. This was a pretty good one though for a lot of the attack damage based units. Woodland Charm is being changed from gold to holy cow, it's now prismatic. I don't know if that's worth it anymore, but it was too strong at gold. I will admit that, because if you get a 2-star and you get Woodland Charm at the beginning of the game, you just auto win streak. But now it has to compete with prismatics. There's a big difference between gold and prismatic augments. You do get a buff, but man, that is so weird, because this falls off hard in the late game unless you get a 3-star damage carry. Underdogs health regen per second is being changed from 10 to 12%. Underdog's health regen per second is now being capped at 200 health per second, so it works a little worse on like a Cho'Gath, for example. Portable Forge option, Death Stance armor is now being increased by 25. Mirror Mana regeneration is being increased from 100 to 200, and then portable forge, armory option, obsidian cleaver, MR, and armor pen is being increased from 40% to 70%. Armor from Randuin's Omen 40 to 50, and then rocket propelled fist health is being changed from 200 to 750. I feel like this is the worst item, but the mana is also being increased as well, and then training target dummies being nerfed by 100 health. Next up, we have the traits. Knowledge is power, too much power with continued education, even into adulthood, granting more and more stats to academy champs. This trait needed to be taken from a doctorate level down to a master's. Bodyguard struggled, traits with summons tend to be powerful early, and alright, let's just get into it. So, academy starting attack damage and ability power. See, this is what I don't like. I like the nerfs to 6 and 8 academy, but I feel like 2 and 4, maybe they needed to be touched. I don't know. I feel like they could have kept it as is. Also, like, I don't get the rationale. Sometimes they like having rounded numbers, and then all of a sudden, in very special circumstances, they don't. But I feel like they could have kept this at 20, and no harm, no foul. Because now when they do this, it could be argued, like, why don't they make the other ones not rounded as well? But Academy, ability power, and attack damage for cast, 3, 5, 10, 15, now being nerfed to 3, 5, 8, 12. And then Bodyguards now gain a shield shortly after combat begins when they trigger their taunt. And then this is a shield amount depending on how many Bodyguards you have. Yeah, Bodyguard's pretty weak. I forgot that they even existed in my like list of requested changes for the patch. Like, I just don't even play Bodyguard, so I literally forgot they existed. Colossus, damage reduction 25% to 30. And then Enforcers will no longer detain units who are immune to crowd control effects. When selecting which units to detain, Enforcers will skip over units who are immune to crowd control. That is good. Now my Scion no longer gets enforced. Zephyr now takes priority over Enforcer. When selecting which units to detain, Enforcers will skip over units who are cycloned by Zephyr. Great change there, improves the usability by a ton. Imperial, team bonus damage, 0 and 40% to 0 to 50%. So this is just buffing 5 Imperial. No one plays that, so it doesn't change anything. Innovator, innovation, base health, 650 to 475, and then 1100 to 750, and then 1900 to 1250. That seems like a lot, but let's finish the changes. Base damage is being nerfed across the board by a bunch, especially at 3-star. And then the star modifier is being increased from 15% to 25%. I wish I knew how to do math, because then I would know which ones are stronger and which ones are weaker. Innovation Hextech Dragon is now immune to crowd control. The dragon range, attack range is now being reduced by 2. And then the Electrifying Roar fear range is upgraded by 2 hexes, and fear duration reduced a little bit. And then the third attack is being decreased a little bit. So it's more for CC, not so much as for damage. And then it also increases ally size for the buff's duration, which is interesting. I've heard that this is a way to make 7 Innovator a little stronger, but from what I'm reading, it's more of like a CC bot rather than a like damage carry. But if someone knows the math on this, let me know. What I would like to see is the 5 and 7 Innovator not really change too much, but the 1-star being changed the most. Let's move on to Mercenary. Mercenary lowered the total power of the trait by slightly reducing the value of various dice rolls across the board. Good. Mutant Hyperadrenal Glands renamed to Adrenaline Rush. Cybernetics getting buffed. That's good. This was one of the worst ones. Voracious Appetite. 80 in the AP reduced 30 to 25 and 50 to 40. Great. Mutant Metamorphosis. 10 and 20 down to 5 and 10. So this is actually nerfed in half. This is how broken this was. I saw some teams last patch. There are like 6 mutant players, and then the 2 non-mutants went 7th and 8th. That's how strong this one was, in case people were curious. And that game, I believe, was in like Challenger Elo. Sniper new. Snipers gain 1 attack range. Units equipped with Sniper Emblem will also benefit from this bonus. And then the Sniper units have had their range reduced by 1 to compensate for the 1 extra range the trait now grants. So overall, this is a nerf to like build different. So now Jin is slightly weaker because he has 1 less range. But the Sniper Emblem stuff, it is kind of cool. It's like a fake RFC. Champions Tier 3. Mercenary, not Mercen Carry. Econ trait champ should not be as strong as they currently are. Agreed. Samira's too good. Agreed. Gangplank health being reduced by 50. Gangplank armor and magic resist reduced by 5. Attack damage reduced by 5. Parlay base damage reduced by 15. 15, and 30. So this is like one of the few times I'll agree with nerfing something like 10 different ways. They nerfed the Mercenary trait, and then they nerfed Gangplank in a lot of different dimensions. I actually agree with this because Gangplank he's way too good. You just get like 1 to 2 gold from him per round, even if you're losing. Like, it's so stupid. Misfortune attack speed being reduced by 0.5 or 0.05, and then make it rain damage being reduced as well. I don't feel like she was that big of a problem. At 2-star, she definitely was, but I feel like a 3-star MF build should be viable to go for, and this makes it much harder to do, because it wasn't like super broken OP to begin with. So maybe they buff Sniper later on to make up for that, but I doubt it since we saw a Sniper change here, which isn't really a buff or a nerf. So Samira, attack damage being nerfed by 5, Flare cast range time slightly reduced range, and Flare attack damage scaling nerfed by 10%, 10%, and 10% across the board, and then Armor Shred being changed by a lot. I feel like that's fair. She was really strong, because like you could use her in like stage 5 at 2-star and still be fine. Obviously, you'd prefer 3-star Samira, but if you get 3-star Samira, you win every game. 2-star, you do okay. So I feel like the nerfs are valid. Champions tier 4, Urgot, 5 damage and 5 damage scaling. Yeah, that's fine. They didn't nerf Yone because they nerfed Academy, so I guess that's fine there. And then Champions tier 5, also for like Urgot and Yone, I don't think they needed big nerfs, just very slight ones. I feel like everything they did is okay so far for those 2 champions. The 5-cost Gizmo and gadgets have generally been overperforming, but our favorite party-going Gargoyle has struggled to nail his entrance. Oh yeah, add Tom Kench and Yumi to the nerf list. Galio starting mana buff. He gets 20 more mana now, and his entrance damage is being buffed very slightly. This doesn't change anything about the champion because, like, getting it a little earlier does help, but the damage, no one cares about that. So now onto the small changes. Small like my free time now that Gizmos and Gadgets is out. Very true. Most of our smaller changes to augments are making feels bad moments feel less bad by offering you augments that make more sense each game. All for One's getting a nerf 40% to 33, built different. Most heart and soul augments as well as all emblem augments are no longer offered after choosing built different. That is a big buff. Built different can no longer be offered on 3rd augment choice. Alright, that's good. I do like getting multiple built difference though, but I guess that's too broken, so maybe that's justified. They are nerfing it though, so built different 1 is being the same, built different 2 nerfed slightly, and built different 3 nerfed slightly as well. Same with the attack speed. These are still going to be good augments from what I'm seeing, because the stats you get from this, you pretty much have like 4 to 6 Clockwork and like 4 to 6 Bruiser. I forget the exact correlations, but that's essentially what this gives you. Binary airdrop, silver to gold. This was really good, especially for win streaking, but they need to add something to it. So item randomization now tries to avoid granting champions items that have poor synergy. Ziggs can no longer roll CZ Rot Portal. Blitzcrank can no longer roll Deathblade. I wonder what the exact coding for this is, but if that's the case, like, yeah, it should be fine in gold augment. Calculated loss can no longer be offered on 3rd augment choice. Good. Dominance, same thing. Junkyard Scrap, same thing. So all the super scaling ones no longer offered as the 3rd one, which I think is fair. Sharpshooter, twin shot, damage fall off is now being changed from 40% to 45%, so that's a nerf there. This was like a really broken one, so that does make sense. Windfall now grants the correct amount of gold per augment. 20, 25, 30 instead of 25, 30, 30. I didn't even know that was a bug, but seems kind of funny there. Now onto the traits. Scrap champions have gotten pickier in their selection of items from the junkyard. Tanks will stop picking up AD carry items, and carries will stop grabbing tank items just because they're shiny. Big buff to scrap. Bruiser, bonus health being changed. It is being nerfed at 4 Bruiser, 6 Bruiser, and being left alone at 8 Bruiser. That's fair. Clockwork, attack speed, base damage being buffed? That's weird. I feel like Clockwork's a really good trait, even though people don't play it that often. It's just because the champions you play it with are a little awkward. But I feel like it did not need buffs, because the only time you play 4 or 6 clockwork is with the augments, and when you do have that, you play it every single time, and it gives a bunch of attack speed. So I am a little curious about that. But yeah, Scrap now like randomizes better, huge buff there. Not sure why Scrap needed a buff. They're already broken OP, especially in the early game. I guess they suck late game, but like the trait is built for early game, so you don't need to make it stronger. Tier 1 champions, Ezreal Mystic Shot damage is being nerfed at 1 star, nerfed at 2. Dude, I don't like this. Buff the 1 star Ezreal, please, because it's so garbage, and then nerf the 2 star. Okay. Garen, max mana nerf, 40 out of 80 to 50 out of 90. I don't agree with this. Protectors, kind of, people stopped playing them at the end of the patch. Like, in the middle of the patch, they played it a lot, but then towards the end, they stopped playing it. They played it very rarely. It's still a decent comp, but that's what a good spot is, right? Being decent. I don't think it was stronger than everything else that it deserved a nerf, you know? Singe, Fling, main target stun is being increased at tier 3 Singe, so that no one cares about that. Ziggs, attack damage 45 to 50. Twisted Fate starting mana nerf 0 out of 40 instead of 30 out of 40. This makes a lot of sense. Twisted Fate was turbo broken. I hope they do give him something else, like in the Arcanist build, to make up for this, because he was a big part of their early game, and not getting that early cast right away does have a lot of implications on all your fights. Champions tier 2, since when does Death's Hand heal? Katarina Shunpo damage being buffed by 10, 15, and 20. Okay, that's good. Assassin reroll being buffed. Kog'Maw attack damage buffed by 5. Swain's Death's Hand healing is being reduced a little bit. Was Swain really a problem? I never really knew he was. So this doesn't make too much sense to me. Trundle, Chomp, attack damage scaling, being nerfed by 10. Yeah, Trundle's a little good early. I'm not sure if this is the right way to nerf it. Maybe they could have done like nerfs to 1 and 2 star Trundle and then a buff to 3 star. But yeah, he was pretty good in the early game. Champions tier 3, Cho'Gath max mana buff. He's now, okay, yeah, I'm all for like Cho'Gath buffs because he is like a fake unit until 3 star. Shaco Deceive, attack damage scaling, 175 to 185, good for Assassin reroll. And then Champions tier 4, Call the Doctor, but not for me. Dr. Mundo is getting a few nerfs to his damage output and burst healing, but a compensation buff in his healing over time. So he's losing magic damage ticks. He is having a smaller health explosion, but his instant heal max scaling also being reduced, and then his heal over time is being changed by like 5% for 1 and 2 star. Overall, pretty sure this is like a nerf, right? Like a slight one, but he was pretty good in my opinion. So I guess it makes sense. So Fiora Blade Waltz startup delay has been slightly reduced, and then Yon's attack speed, small change there. Did they need to do this after nerfing Academy? Maybe not. We'll see. And then Champion tier 5, Jace melee bonus armor and magic resist dropped by 10. Jinx attack speed dropped by 0.05. So they're getting the arcane nerfs right now. The 2 arcane champions getting smashed by the nerfs. Tahm Kench Devour damage being nerfed slightly. Yeah, that's fair. He's too good. He just CCs your unit for like 5 seconds or whatever it is, and that's not really fair. Yumi's health nerfed by... Is this really how they decide to nerf Yumi? Her health matters in the shield she gives, but is nerfing it by 50 when her shield is already a % of her health even really a nerf? Like, she doesn't die till the end of the fight anyway. She's the last person to die. So if you lose by like 4 units, this nerf does not change any outcomes of any of those fights. Like, what? You need to adjust her ability for sure. She's essentially a Volibear from last set, which cannot die. So, yeah. Items, Ionic Spark Zap damage being nerfed slightly. I didn't know this was that great of an item. Maybe I needed to build it more last set. But I'm guessing they're doing it because the data told them so. Hyper Roll, they see me rolling, they hating, patrolling, and trying to catch me riding Yordles. Now it gives 1 Yordle after each player combat, and has a good chance to give a 2nd Yordle after each player combat. This chance increases each stage. Interesting. TFT coins are out on mobile. It's like their mobile currency to make things easier to pay for, when you're on mobile. But now onto the bug fixes. How are there only this few? Nice shot. Sharpshooter augment no longer works with sniper attacks. That's fair. It shouldn't work like that. Time waits for no one. Broken stopwatch now properly freezes CC immune units. It still works. Items created by the binary airdrop augment will now properly trigger their start of combat phase effect. And then no longer off the hook. Blitzcrank's allies always properly... Yeah, dude, there are so many games where I'm like, why isn't this guy attacking Blitzcrank's target? Like, they're in range. I didn't know it was a bug. Bench bubbles. The Runic shield augment will no longer grant shields to units on the bench. Yeah, that's just a visual thing. Training dummies are people. Training dummies should no longer show up in end-of-game match history screens. Fair. Orb Hunter. Mercenary orbs have been moved to the right, so they are no longer hidden by the Hextech core. Yeah, sometimes I'd go, like, a couple rounds without realizing I had an orb from, like, winning. Yordles together strong. Fix an issue where Yordles could fail to combine and star up when coming off the Yordle portal. This would most happen when getting 2 Yordles in Hyperroll. We still believe there's a second, much rarer way this bug can happen that may not be fixed, but they'll be keeping an eye out on it. So even the minion rounds. Gold Collector no longer grants gold on PvE rounds. Alright, that's completely fair. Ride together, die together. Tarek no longer fails to heal himself if his primary heal target dies while he's casting. Alright, there are a lot of other different bugs. You probably saw me complain about them on stream. Hopefully they fix them soon because, man, there are too many to list. But yeah, overall, like, they changed most of the stuff that I wanted, right? Samira, Mutant, Mercenary, Academy, Innovator. All this has changed, but not in the way I wanted for some. Like, Innovator, like, just buff 1-star Ezreal, nerf the 2-star. It's not hard. A lot of the eco augments did not get touched at all. Because if you guys didn't know, like, at the beginning of the game, the eco augments are just way too strong. In fact, they buffed them because you can no longer get some of them in stage 3. So this is actually buffed. And Yumi, it's a fake change. The Tom Kench nerf was real though. But I mean, like, anything happens with augments. Like, I feel like I've said in the past the game balances itself. Just the nature of the pools and stuff. And with the augments, it does it even more. Obviously, over a long period, it's balanced. But in a sample size of like 1 game, it feels unbalanced. And that's what they're trying to fix. But yeah, I guess I'd rate this maybe like a 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10. Like, they covered most of the things. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to fix because it's like the first patch of the set. So I guess it's hard to catch everything. But yeah, hopefully this is fun. I'll be streaming a lot of this set, not this week, but next week. But I will be coming out with some guides. So if you guys are into that, like, subscribe below if you have not already. And I will see you all, like, probably tomorrow. I'll be making another video tomorrow. So I'll see you guys there.